Hey guys, my name is Dr. Cade. I'm sitting here with Coach Cason, and again, our condolences, our heart goes out to our community here in Southwest Florida. But what we want to do is, of course, try to get back. And so today we're going to be talking about lung health. And of course, when we talk about lung health in regards to what everybody's going through right now, we're going to look through a lens of stress, right? And so the way that we look at that in the chiropractic world and here at LIFEstrength Health Center is stress is broken down into mental, chemical, and physical. And so please, when you're thinking about all this stuff, you got to make sure that we're addressing all avenues there of stress, how your body's responding, how to minimize that, and how to get through it and heal the right way so that none of this stuff turns into a bigger thing that chases us through the rest of life, right? Yep. So again, we're going to talk about lung health. And so you want to jump into things a little bit. Be careful because this might cause more stress than what it's good for. Mold is a big thing down here. Right? Of course, we live in Florida, and it's just kind of not a matter if, it's a matter of when we're kind of exposed to mold or we have it growing in our house. But of course, due to the hurricane and things being wet, it's going to be a bigger thing. So if you want to learn more, there's an awesome documentary by Bulletproof Coffee guy, David Asprey. It's called Moldy, and it should be available. If you use Dr. Google, you'll find Moldy out there. But it's pretty amazing because mold is literally linked to everything out there. It's kind of just like Lyme, where it can mimic a lot of symptoms and a lot of other diseases like autoimmune, neurological stuff, headaches, aches, pains, skin stuff, gut stuff, right?
Everything.
I mean, pretty much everything, right?
Yeah.
Even some mental things like depression, anxiety, ADD, insomnia, linked to pretty much everything. So if you want to, just make sure that you're learning a little bit more, the Moldy documentary is a great place. And there's also lots of tips in there on how to make sure that you're taking care of mold the right way if you are potentially experiencing that in your place. So let's jump through. What I want to focus on today is more the physical and / chemical aspects of stress and how that relates to lung health. So let's just start jumping through. And the biggest one that we want to talk about is minimizing new exposure, right? And again, whether that's mold, whether that's the drywall particulate, whether it's stuff from the attic, whether it's the stuff that the water and the storm brought in from the water and from the trees, and minimizing your exposure to new new issues, new problems there is going to be new chemicals. There you go. Is a big one. So inside, do your best to wear a respirator if you can. If you can get your hands on a respirator, if you're cutting drywall out in the house. We were just over at Grandpa's house this past weekend, my father-in-law, and we had to cut about 2 feet of the drywall off. And I mean, we were following with a shop vac to try to minimize, but I mean, it just gets everywhere and you're breathing it in. And of course, that's a chemical toxic stress that your body has to deal with. So if you can use a ventilator respirator, I think that would be great. If not, a mask. If not, use a ventilator system in your home. And so one of our favorites is the Air Doctor Pro. If you can get your hands on the vents, in your air handler or the filters in your air handler, MERV 8, MERV 10, MERV 12, 13, the higher that you can go, the smaller of a particulate that it's going to pick up and minimize that from recirculating in the air. Any other ones that I'm missing there? Maybe ozone?
Yeah, the ozone. I don't know if you want to tell them what MERV 8 and 10 and what that means.
Go ahead.
I actually don't know. I'm wanting to know.
So I believe that's the rating, right, of what's captured in those filters. And again, the higher the rating on that MERV, the smaller, if you will, like of a mesh that the particulate can get through. So we've all seen some of those big, they're almost like plastic spaghetti noodle looking things. And those are going to maybe stop leaves from getting through, into your vents and into your air handler. But again, like a MERV, I believe MERV 13 can pick up things as small as like a virus. And so that might put a bigger, toll on your air handler system. Again, I'm no expert on this, but again, the smaller that you can get, the better. And so in our house, we typically shoot for 8 at the minimum, ideally like an 11 or a 13. So
you're just picking up more matter.
You're picking up more matter. So again, that should keep your air handler a little bit cleaner. That should prevent recirculation, and you continue to breathe that stuff in. So
and that's what the Air Doc does too.
The Air Doc does that too. Now the Air Doc is pretty interesting. Most of you have probably heard of a HEPA filter. The Air Doctor Pro is one of the only ones out there that uses an ultra HEPA. And so that is when we're talking about decimal points in a small particulate, it's even smaller. So I believe it's like 1,000 times more smaller of a particulate than a regular HEPA filter, which
Yeah.
is typically the gold standard on the market, a regular HEPA filter. Vacuum cleaners and air filtration systems out there, but the Air Doctor Pro has an Ultra. And so please go take a peek at that, especially if you're predisposed to lung issues like asthma or allergies or congestion and chronic sinusitis and the bronchitis, pneumonia, those kind of things, right? Because we really are opening up the door right now, being exposed to things. So we talked about proper protection inside, and I think it bears repeating. Research continues to show that even when we're not cutting out drywall, even when we're not exposed to what we're being exposed to right now, indoor air quality is typically 100 times more polluted than outdoor air quality, right?
Yeah.
And that's from the detergents that we use, right? Our cleaning products, stains in woods and flame retardants in mattresses and furniture, and those types of things create a toxic toll, a chemical stress on the body, right?
And in Florida too, like if we have water in our house, if our AC is leaking and there's water that's in the walls in the AC closet, then there's a chance for mold.
100%.
So yeah, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so if you are experiencing that, make sure that you're more than welcome to reach out to the contacts that we have here. We're happy to share that with you. But there's a lot of wonderful people working really hard right now in Southwest Florida to make sure, again, that these types of things don't turn into a bigger issue for you and for your health down the road. And again, we just want to make sure, reiterating, mold exposure can mimic so many other things. And so it's easy to chase down those symptoms and forget what's really causing those symptoms. Mm-hmm. We always want to get to the root cause. Yep. And this is a really big chemical stress that acts as a root cause. Yep. So other things, why don't we continue to try to provide some more answers and solutions. So one of the big things that you work on here at LifeStrength Health Center with your physical therapy practice is posture. Yep. And how important that is, not just to how somebody looks and how somebody feels, but how organs function. And one of the biggest ones is lungs, right? And getting enough oxygen into the lungs so that we can saturate the body with oxygen. So why don't you show them what poor posture looks like, and we take them through that exercise you're talking about.
Yeah, well, and before I go there, I just want to say, like, I think the point here is oxygen and what we're breathing is essential, right? And so if we can get out of our house, if we do have water damage or mold, and we're working on that, with a company and our family and whoever, if we can get outside more and into real open air, I think that's a huge thing, because the inside is encapsulated and can be toxic. So
can I ask a question really quick?
Yeah.
If you were going to have somebody, if they're working and their hands are full at their house trying to clean up the mess, or you're donating your time, right, to help somebody else out, would you rather have them outside for 5 minutes, a handful of times throughout the day, or a bigger stretch where they're out for an hour and they take a break from those kind of things?
No, I think 5 minutes a handful of times. The more you can break, from your job, obviously you're going to get fixed in working on your house. If it's your house or helping somebody else, you're focused on the task at hand. But if you can set a timer or have one of the people around remind you, let's go outside, let's take a break, let's have a drink and of water and hydrate and just relax, so that we separate ourselves from that
Nice little reset. Nice little reset.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
What about if somebody's inside the house and they're experiencing symptoms, right? Like a runny nose or congestion or even a cough. Good thing? Bad thing? What should they be expecting there?
Obviously, a bad thing. Well, not a bad thing, but your body's telling you, hey, I need a break.
Yep.
So maybe that's the time to get outside. Not maybe. Get outside. Get some fresh air. Get under the sun. We're in Florida. It's beautiful now after this storm has passed. Mm-hmm. So soak that sun up. Breathe the fresh air. Then when you go back, that's the time you might put a N95 mask on, or a respirator, or whatever you have, to minimize that exposure.
Yeah, we love symptoms, right? It's the way that the body communicates to you what's going on, right? And one of our favorite quotes is, if you listen to your body when it whispers, you never have to hear it scream, right? So if you are experiencing that cough or that runny nose, right, it's your body's way of trapping that particulate from getting into the body. Your body's creating a barrier, if you will, to trap it in that mucus. So listen to your symptoms, right? Don't suppress those symptoms. Let your body attract that. Let your body trap it and get it out. Cough it out, blow your nose, get it out of the body, and then again, take protection, right? Yeah. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. Why don't you go into posture?
Yeah, posture. So oxygen, lungs, like that's everything. I think oxygen is the most essential nutrient. It's a nutrient, so we need it. If we don't have it, what happens. So we need to learn how to breathe properly, and breathing properly has everything to do with our posture. And these days, everyone's forward and their head is forward and their shoulders are rounded, and the way that our neck is shaped, and we can show you this on all sorts of x-rays, has everything to do with the airways that come into our lungs. So posture is essential, but a couple things you can do, obviously sitting up, opening up your airways is one very important thing, an obvious thing, but also breathing properly or deeply into our lungs. So in stressful situations, when we're in the fight or flight nervous system, we breathe really, really high in the upper lobes of our lungs. We're using our neck and our shoulder muscles to help get oxygen in, but we're not actually getting as much oxygen in as we can. So this is where stress relieving techniques and taking a break and calming ourselves down and stepping away from these stressful situations that this storm has presented can help, because we can relax a little bit and allow oxygen to get into the lower lobes of our lungs so we reoxygenate more efficiently. So yeah, go ahead, Cade.
So, oxygen is important to maintain a proper pH balance in the body, right? And it's also important to fight off inflammation. And most diseases are linked with an imbalance of pH in the body and obviously higher amounts of inflammation than what we want. Yep. Pretty much all diseases linked to that, Absolutely. Right? Things as bad as cancer, right? Dementia, Alzheimer's, to things, again, a little bit calmer too. More like ADD, ADHD, those kind of things. Maybe that's not calmer. Maybe that's the wrong term to use there, but hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say there. So again, Cason's talking about a potential physical trauma, physical stress when we lose that posture, but also how that can create a bigger stress down the road, mentally, physically, emotionally, right, when we're not getting enough oxygen. Absolutely. And so the thing that we can practice, right, is you can push your head as far forward as you can, right, far forward as you can, and roll those shoulders forward a little bit, and do your best to try to take a big breath when you're doing it, right? Take a big breath. And your lungs, you just don't feel your lungs fill up with air. Versus when you're up nice and tall, you're using your diaphragm, shoulders are back a little bit, head is back over the shoulders, right? And you can just feel how much easier it is for your body to open up and to breathe and to oxygenate. And I think, again, most of us don't even realize that we're doing those types of things when we're under stress. It's a natural kind of, emotional response.
Well, we get into habits too, and then this is our default mode. And so when we go and sit up, we feel weird. It's like, oh, I'm trying to I don't know, open my chest too much, but no, it's how we're supposed to be. So what do we do about it? I guess that's my question.
Cason has got some excellent activities and excellent techniques to actually retrain not just the muscles, but the neurology that tells the muscles what to do and restore a new default normal instead of your body continuing to think, we've trained it in this position that this is where we should be. So I love the physical therapy aspect of it and the neurology aspect of it there, but chiropractic is a big part of it too, right? And so even just a regular chiropractic adjustment is a big thing as far as opening up and letting that diaphragm move, open up the ribs, take the pressure off the shoulders and the neck. The neurology that goes to the lungs to tell them what to do and when to do it branches out right at where the neck meets the shoulders. Super important to make sure that there's no stress to that neurologic system in that area. Another one is we continue to be exposed to these chemicals. There's a great study that came out years ago that they did a blood draw out of patients before an adjustment and after an adjustment, and the serum levels that they were measuring in there, the marker that they were measuring was something called interleukin-2, and what that is an immune modulator, right? And pharmaceutical companies have been trying for years to actually reproduce this and patent it, right? But they've been unsuccessful so far. And what it showed before an adjustment and after an adjustment was a 200% higher blood serum levels of interleukin-2 after the adjustment, specifically in the thoracic spine. Wow. And so again, when you're under a chemical stress like what we're talking about, the adjustment is awesome to help you feel better, but there's so much more going on, like what I'm sharing there. So let's see, other things. I think we talked a little bit about vagus nerve tone and how that relates to stress and how that relates to our body's ability to handle more stress, whether it's physical trauma or chemical trauma. So can we talk about some simple vagus nerve tone that they can do and how that relates?
Well, I just want to go back to chiropractic because you say all the time you're not a bone doctor. You're a nervous system doctor. So obviously the adjustment and all the benefits from that is going to help the vagus nerve tone. But some simple techniques that we need to keep doing, and because we can't just go get adjusted and say, okay, I'm good.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
We have to do stuff about it. So humming. Singing using our vocal cords can stimulate the vagus nerve. So expressing our voice, singing, obviously that's going to make us more happier. If you look at little kids, like when they get their food, they start humming, like they're happy. They're
or when they're playing with toys, right? There are different things that they do, and it's so interesting. I think if you stick around long enough in this video, Cason's going to sing us all a lullaby here at the end. But it's amazing what that will do, right? It changes that mental space, and it helps our body get out of that fight or flight stressful state where our immune organs, our digestive organs, our healing organs are shut down, right?
Absolutely.
Because our body's not worried about thriving; it's worried about survival. So humming, singing.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, play some music that you enjoy, that you can sing to, right? And let it out. Gargling, getting your neck back and putting some water in your mouth and just gargling will stimulate the vagus nerve. Dr. Cade's always talking about stimulation like vibration. He tells people to use the butt end of their toothbrush, their vibration toothbrush. So where do you put that? What do you do with that?
So I think if you're an adult, I think something a little bit stronger would be a smart idea, again, specifically to drive new blood flow to the lungs, to try to clear the lungs out, to improve circulation there, to increase lymphatic circulation, to get rid of the junk that you're breathing in. I think if you're an adult, one of those percussion guns, those massage percussion guns, they can be found on Amazon for $50-$60 these days. You don't need anything fancy, but when you're using that, we're shaking loose a lot of that junk, increasing new blood flow and increasing the lymphatic flow, right? If you're a child, if you've got a child or you're a family that's going through this, again, our hearts go out to you, but the butt end of an electric toothbrush would be much gentler while still achieving the same thing, right? So put your child in your arms and use that butt end of an electric toothbrush. Start low on their diaphragm, a little bit higher than where you'd burp your baby, but right at that diaphragm level, and just slowly work your way up to the top of the shoulders. The lobes, upper lobes of the lungs come right up here underneath the top of the collarbone. And so those things are great. And if you don't have access to those things, my microphone's going to make some noise, but you can certainly pound on your chest, and make some noise like that. And that's going to accomplish all the things that we're talking about here to clear out those lungs and make sure this doesn't turn into a bigger problem.
Yeah, movement comes to mind too. Now that we're talking about percussion, movement, walking, bouncing, jumping, running, playing is percussion in a way. Our body is moving, it's bouncing, and so that's going to help the lymphatic system and all these secreting organs to get stuff moving.
And you're going to be out moving. Your head's going to be probably in a little bit different spot than it would be, looking at the damage, looking at the wreckage, and that's also going to help the vagus nerve. So I think we could talk all day about this stuff, but I think we've left people with some good things. Of course, if you ever need a hand or help, whether you're in Naples or Fort Myers or whatever it is, if you can't get here, call us. If you can't call us, text us. If you can't text us, our door's open. What we want to do is help, and so getting this information out to you is our best way of doing that now. But don't hesitate to reach out. We will do everything we can to help. And of course, our rule is if we can't, we promise to tell you that and try to help you get to the right place. So, Coach Cason, anything else you want to say?
We want to help. We're here. Come see us, call, walk in the door.
Thanks for joining us, you guys. Next one that we're going to talk about today was lungs. We're going to talk about liver next. So stay tuned. We're doing everything we can to help you through this hurricane.